Welcome, everybody, to our Women in Life Sciences live event. Lift Up is back again for another month. Can't believe we're on our 23rd episode, and today we're here to talk about the invisible danger of the glass cliff. It's a concept that has been more and more talked about now globally, not just in the life sciences industry. It's a critical topic in discussions around gender, leadership, and organizational dynamics. So I'm Louise Williams. I'm back again as the host, and I've got three fantastic key speakers within life sciences that is going to be joining me today to talk about this important topic. So for those of you that are completely new to Lift Up, this is a live broadcast. We'd love for you to get interactive. It was born 2 years ago now in the summer through a group of ambassadors within Fraser Dove. We wanted to leverage off of all of the wonderful relationships we've got here within Fraser Dove International, which is the life sciences executive search talent consultancy. And we really wanted to connect, champion, and inspire those women within the life sciences space, all the way from academia up to C-suite level. So this community has been building tremendously over the last couple of years. The group internally here are super proud. We've had over 50,000 global views now, said 23, 24, I think, live broadcasts, podcasts, conferences, and around 46 key speakers that have joined us on this journey. So thank you so much for everybody that has been getting involved, and that is back to join us again today. So again, those of you that are new, I am Louise Williams. I've been in staffing for 20 years, life sciences for 10 years, hugely passionate about this industry and can't imagine being anywhere else. I'm the MD here of Fraser Dove. I joined around 3 years ago. I've got 2 kids. I've got a daughter who's 8 and a son who's 4 that keep me very busy outside of work. And I'm really, really excited. We've got Denise, we've got Erin and Maha that are all sitting backstage that can't wait to join us. But what I would like to say is to those of you that are dialing in today, please say hello. Pop into the comments where it is you're dialing from, your name. It's great for everybody to get connected. There's lots of relationships that have been built up over the last few years within this community group. Also put what sector you're in, whether it's regulatory, medical, clinical. It's always great to know. Or if you're in academia and you're really interested around joining the life sciences industry space, we would obviously love to hear from you. The other thing I would like to quickly point out is that as we go, we'd love this to be an interactive session, so you can start asking the key speakers questions as we go. So pop in a Q in the front of your question within the comments, and it will make it a lot easier for me to navigate through the comments as they come through. But we've got some brilliant ones lined up from our community group already. So without further ado, I would love to bring in Denise Lippy. Hello, Denise.
Hi. Hi.
Hi, would
This
you be
morning.
so kind? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Would you love to do an introduction to the audience for us?
Sure. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Well, I started in my career, if you can believe it, around 38 years ago. My father and grandfather owned a diagnostic imaging or medical technology third-party sales and service company. So I literally can remember starting to work soldering boards at the kitchen table when I was 9 years old and starting to do the paperwork for the services department. My mother was an educator, however, and so she did not agree for me to go straight from high school to work for my dad and grandfather in that company. So I did go and get a degree. I had the privilege to pick, so I have an inorganic chemistry degree. And I did work as a chemist straight out of college for long enough to realize in my early 20s, as you get to know yourself, that I was an extrovert. So the introverted lab environment was not for me. And the testing of samples, the redundancy in that was not dynamic enough. And I wasn't ready to be a PhD scientist. So went back to work for the family business, worked in all departments, including driving the forklift, selling x-ray film out of the trunk of my car prior to the internet, starting mail order, the first mail order programs, accounts receivable, accounts payable, every part of the business, worked in it, grew it, we sold it. And that's when I went to work and started my corporate career. And I worked for companies first, Henry Schein Dental, as a regional sales and service leader. then went on and was recruited by great companies like Siemens. Had various stints there. I really grew up, if you will, my corporate career in Siemens. It was wonderful. I held positions as head of installations, vice president of the multi-vendor services division, all the way to VPGM of the mammography and special products division. After that, I decided, quite frankly, that I wanted to focus on my personal life. So from there, I was recruited into a new technology called proton therapy. And having been exposed to mammography, I was then interested in working in treatment devices versus just diagnostic devices. So I'm so proud to have worked for MD Anderson Cancer Center, part of the University of Texas in Houston, where I became vice president of the Proton Therapy Center. I always knew I could go back to my corporate career, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So Varian Medical, when they decided to get serious about expanding proton therapy globally, recruited me, and I became their global vice president, head of proton therapy, and I traveled the world. It was a fantastic experience and opened 40 plus proton therapy centers across the globe and built a services organization, over 400 folks. It was at that time, proton therapy reached its peak and COVID hit us all.
Yeah.
And I was recruited by a company that I'm sure this audience knows well, Thermo Fisher Scientific, where I was appointed to lead their services division for North Americas, helping to really evolve their service in that new environment. As you can imagine, their services organization needed to transform to more of a 24/7 high uptime support organization for their top customers who are producing the vaccine and the test kits and such. So had a wonderful time there. And then I was recruited here by Johnson Johnson
Recently,
to
yeah.
be the vice president of service solutions for OTTAVA, which is the surgical robotics platform, which is not yet released, coming soon. And so I love new product and new business launches, and that's where I am today.
Wow, what a career, Denise. Thank you so much for the introduction. Very inspiring, and clearly constantly looking for that, next challenge. You're breaking many glass ceilings, I feel, as you're climbing. But yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. And can't wait to introduce Erin. Thank you so much for joining us today, Erin. If you wouldn't mind doing an introduction to the audience.
Thanks, Louise. My name is Erin Krolikiewicz, and I'm presently the Global Head of Precision Talent and Executive Scouting for Novartis. I'm also the proud mother of 2 teenage boys. I'm originally from Southern California, and I now am based in New Jersey. And I started my career 25 years ago working in life sciences in the biotech community of San Diego as an executive recruiter. And my career has grown into various aspects of talent management and leadership, talent acquisition, and talent scouting. So I've had the privilege of being a leader with some of the largest pharmaceutical companies, and just have a real passion for, connecting with people, helping people grow as individuals. And I also do executive coaching for, people that are in need of some assistance when it comes to how they want to grow their career.
Thank you, Erin. 25 years in life sciences, and it's been an inspiring story as well, listening to yours previously in the conversation. So thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Maha, thank you so much for joining us today. If you wouldn't mind doing your introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Louise. And wow, after Denise and Erin, I feel it's hard to introduce myself. So basically, I have a solid background in science, in chemistry, and I did my PhD at the Institut National Polytechnique de Toulouse in process and environmental engineering. I have lived and worked on 3 different continents. And I enjoy traveling. I traveled to 19 countries in 4 years. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial mindset. So I got exposed to the business side very early on, and I'm an extrovert. So I enjoy negotiating and I enjoy the business aspect of things. And this, having a solid scientific background helped me, basically. And helped propel me to where I am today. Currently, I am the vice president of business development and portfolio at XGen Pharmaceuticals. And before that, I have worked at different CDMOs and CROs. And I'm based in the United States. The company is in upstate New York, and I live in Pennsylvania. I'm a proud mother of two kids who will be watching this webinar later after their summer camp. Yes, and thank you for having us here today.
Oh, thank you, Maha. Thank you so much for that introduction. Again, inspiring. And I actually think this is a lovely panel because we've kind of got a real combination and mix of technologies, of executive search, talent scouting and hiring and people, and then the business side and sales side, Maha. So it's a really lovely combination of talent that we have here. And this is a great topic for us to dive into. But before we do, I just want to shout out to the audience for getting engaged. Hello, Sean. Great to have you. She's one of our community managers here. Laurie from Houston, some of these names as well you may know. Thank you so much for joining us. Ananya in India. If you pop up on screen like a LinkedIn user, it's because you've got some of your security settings switched on. But thank you so much for joining us. We've got Ollie here as well in the UK. Great topic. Catherine from Paris. So yeah, we've got a real global community dialing in. I'm so sorry if I can't get through to you all, as they keep coming. But please get engaged. And as I said earlier, if you've got any questions throughout, just pop in a queue in front of the question. It will just help me navigate as we go through. As I go through the comments. Great. So 32.2% of women are in senior leadership positions globally as of 2023. However, 45% of women are more likely to be appointed into leadership roles within struggling businesses or companies in crisis mode. This is really late statistics from McKinsey. I know that Harvard have also been running some of their own studies on this. So, the term glass cliff has actually been out since around 2005, so about the mid 2000s. Yet it feels like the last couple of years, this is becoming an increasingly hotter topic. So I'm going to come to you all with, what does the glass cliff mean to you, and how does it differ perhaps from the glass ceiling? Just as a really quick synopsis, perhaps for you all, just for the audience to kind of hear what your thoughts are with it. So Erin, I'll come to you first, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So glass, I would just frame that the glass ceiling is essentially a barrier that we see, an invisible barrier that sometimes women can face. And glass cliff meaning something that you may not know, that you're approaching something rapidly, and there could be a chance that you could fall off it. So this is where the theory and the thinking comes from. The difference between the two is that, you can see or potentially know what the glass ceiling is, and you can aim towards it. And maybe sometimes we hear about breaking the glass ceiling, which Denise has certainly shown us some examples of. The glass cliff may be something that you don't necessarily see coming in and could create or result some failure or stumbling within your career.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Erin. And Maha, your thoughts on the definition in your mind with this?
So this is a term that we've been hearing quite often. Actually, just last week, there was an article in the New York Times about the glass cliff, and it's becoming more and more, a current topic.
Yeah.
My personal experience, I'm optimistic by nature, so I consider the glass cliff as an opportunity to succeed against all odds, rather than a precipice. So, like, if we view it as an opportunity instead of,
Yeah, I like that mind shift. Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Maha. And Denise, what are your thoughts with this?
Sure. In my experience, the glass ceiling historically for me, had to do with men as the majority having that strong network, and therefore they had more advocates and more opportunity and access to those positions.
Yeah.
Um, I think that obviously that has changed. What has not changed, and I want to encourage our audience today, is truly building that strength, that strong of a network at those levels to be your advocate, and to step up and speak for you when you have these opportunities. So basically creating that network that's going to create the opportunities for you at that level,
Yeah.
that has not changed. So that part of the glass ceiling I still experience. And that's why calls and podcasts like this are so critically important. Even after I left Thermo Fisher, I made sure I'm networking. You'll see a lot of those ladies on the call today. The glass cliff, what I've experienced, especially for women in STEM, I speak to my personal in medtech or life sciences. For me, I see the Peter principle. So you're a great engineer, you're a great scientist, so you're promoted into leadership. You're even a great leader. Wonderful coaches out there like Erin. So you work on your leadership skills, but then you get propelled into, say, director and a level above. Director, where all of a sudden you're responsible for a commercial business. And most of those folks, those ladies, do not have commercial business experience, that they don't have the sales experience. I always tell them, if to get that skill, you'll know it when a customer writes you the check, right? You're the face of the customer, you're the face of the company, but has a customer written you a check? Have they hired you? So that's the part they're missing that I believe becomes the glass cliff, because they're expected to deliver on the top and bottom line of a P&L and grow a business. And honestly, no one has equipped them to do that. I had a unique opportunity in my childhood, as you could hear, and growing up.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for that. And all slightly different angles there, but absolutely right and relevant. And when we're talking about factors, so what factors contribute, do you think, to the glass cliff phenomenon in organizations? Erin, I'll come back to you first with this one.
I think the factors that contribute are lack of sponsorship, lack of mentorship, and really just trying to Denise's point, propel people faster than perhaps they're ready. So in particular with women, as you stated, there's, even though we make up more than 50% of the workforce, there's less of us in leadership roles. And there's organizations that sometimes will have objectives or goals to reach certain DE&I perspectives. And what happens is we're moving people too quickly. And so without the right mentorship, sponsorship, and really training and grounding in your role and expertise, this creates an opportunity for you to maybe not be as successful as you could.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very, very well said. Do you think that, I'm just off the cuff of that, do you think it depends on the organization's internal structure? Do you see more corporates being able to create programs internally to support that versus maybe the smaller, or do you still think that the challenges are across the board?
I think it's a really great question. And the first step is really raising awareness.
Yeah.
Within an organization, you can have programs, you can have certain interventions, but if you don't have an awareness over the implications of how you're setting up your leaders to be successful, then those programs and interventions don't matter. You really have to look holistically at a person's life. And we know that for most women, they are carrying the brunt of the household and caregiving too. So how do you create opportunities where they can not only be successful in their personal and corporate lives so that they can really sustain that leadership role?
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Erin. And Maha, what are your thoughts with this question?
No, I think Erin really answered it well. I'm also thinking that it's critical that organizations provide support to those women that they propel in, to those leadership roles. And support could be, based on trust, and also providing resources, to support the person.
Yeah, and Denise, anything to add to that? So we've kind of got the visibility, tokenism, potentially maybe stereotypes, biases. Is there anything else there that comes to mind for you, the factors that contribute to it?
Sure. I'll just mention one that was different for me,
Yeah.
representing the
Hmm.
LGBTQIA plus community. It was a different phenomenon for me. So I focused on my career up to late 30s and made that VPGM level. And actually, the cliff I experienced is I became very depressed. I had no personal life. And so Erin's point is correct. No matter which side you're on, you need balance in your personal and professional life. And so I did something radical and left the VP role and went back to an individual contributor, a frontline service leader
Hmm.
at MD Anderson Cancer Center. Erin, you made a point with me before, take lateral moves, take steps down. Well, I did that in order to not travel and to focus on my personal life. And I'm proud to say I'm married and have a daughter and two granddaughters, 14.
Oh, amazing.
And you can
Yeah.
always go back. So there's some
Yeah.
of us on the flip side of that. We're in different cultures. We come from different backgrounds. For me, I had to take the cliff, get my personal life in check,
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
balance, and
Yeah.
then come back.
Yeah, I love that. And, without going down the rabbit hole of work-life blend, I do think it's so important that the organizations aren't too short-sighted, because often or not, those that are quite unhappy in their
Mm,
personal life don't end up fulfilling the job to their full
thank
abilities.
you. That's my point.
It's just absolutely true. So by allowing someone 30 minutes more in the morning or to do whatever it is that they need to do, probably means that they're going to give more percent when they're actually in work. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. We've got some quick comments, if I can just dive in here from the audience. Carter, lovely to have you here. Denise Lippy has been a great inspiration and mentor, so that's lovely. We've got Joe, who's our co-founder of FDI, that's joining us today. What a fantastic panel. We've got Laurie. I agree, Denise. It is so important to have a sponsor at the most senior levels in the company to be your advocate and to help advocate for you for more senior roles. We've got Andrew, our CCO, as well. It's so difficult to analyze when you're being presented a great opportunity for impact versus when you are being set up to fail as a scapegoat. I think we interestingly were talking about this, Erin, weren't we, earlier, around the thought process of not failing. This glass cliff analogy kind of almost sets up for mentally you thinking that you're falling and actually it's a fail. I don't know whether you want to add to that, Erin.
I think this is, when we are looking at the culture of our organization, and as leaders, we have an opportunity to really make an imprint on that culture, allow for some failure. And Denise, I love what you said earlier about being careful with wording, and I think it's true. But how can we see this as an opportunity where people may stumble and we can support them and still help them to be successful? It shouldn't be a death sentence per se if you make a mistake, or if you're not being 100% successful in your career.
Yeah, because I think ultimately this was something that was touched upon, was how does the glass cliff affect the career trajectories for those who experience it? This was something that came through our community group, and it can have quite a detrimental impact, because we're already talking about women seeing this glass ceiling and not necessarily wanting to break through. And then if people are then breaking through and then are almost on this glass cliff phenomenon, and then they're seeing it as a failure and then falling off, it's kind of what story, what's that? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? So I don't know what your thoughts with this one, Denise, are.
Sure. I think that uh, really, and what we were talking about earlier, what Erin mentioned, I think we just need to be careful of our mindset around our opportunities for growth. And we need to build a trusted network. We need to be careful who we share that with, right? So that we can be totally transparent, and then seek out those mentors, those coaches, those women and others, even men in those positions that would be willing to coach and mentor you. Listen, a lot of folks get promoted, men included, the majority, into roles they're not ready for. That doesn't have to be a failure. We just have to pivot quickly and find the support we need. And you wouldn't have been promoted into that position if you didn't have the basic skill sets and the capabilities to be successful, the initiative, the drive, everything else it takes. So I encourage women that I coach, don't get too scared. Everyone's been in this position. Don't back up and accept the glass cliff too early. Give it your
Yeah.
best shot. A lot of folks don't know what they're doing when they get started, but we are great at figuring it out. And again, I can't say enough. You've got to build that circle of support around you. Look, men I've known will tell me behind closed doors, leaders, executives, Denise, I didn't know. You know what I did know? How to build a great team who did know. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing to focus on. When you're in a leadership role and you're feeling those gaps, remember when you're hiring and when you are assigning your team, the different various roles and assignments, have them bridge those gaps. No
Yeah,
one
love
person
that.
can be everything.
Yeah, yeah. Understanding those gaps, almost accepting those gaps, not
Mhm.
having that kind of mentality of that's not happening, or,
Right.
understanding, accepting, and then almost seeking out the support. It's not a failure on your part by asking for help, or trying to find a bridge or a way to kind of get there. I love that. You mentioned earlier as well, I think it was Erin or your Denise, around the language in which we need
Mm,
to be careful at using. I think that might have been you, Denise. That
it
was
was.
quite a resonating moment, just around being careful how you are verbalizing potentially the support you need, or failure. I
Yeah.
think it was you might be able to explain this better than I am.
I don't want to stereotype or overgeneralize, but my
Of course.
experience as a woman and a lot of the women I've worked with, we are hard. We are our worst critics. We are very hard on ourselves. We have this internal voice, and we all know the imposter syndrome, right? Behind that. So if we're not careful, we share from that perspective with that language. And I would caution, because look, the leaders of the business above us have a job. They have to deliver results. And you don't want to talk in a way that erodes their confidence of you. You want to maintain their confidence while being uh, moderately
Honest.
transparent about
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
opportunities and what support you need. So don't talk about it without saying, "Hey, I have this one thing I know that I need to do better on. Here's the support I need." And then go back to them after that support and say, "Hey, fantastic, I turned this around." So I just think we need to be very careful, not let that inside critic out too much.
Yeah.
If you notice, men don't do that to themselves. I'm talking in stereotypes here, but in
Yeah.
general, I haven't experienced men do that, and they also don't do it to each other. So another point I wanted to get across here is, because I think of our internal critic, we are highly and much more likely to be critical of other women than we are other men, and we have to stop that. We have to stop that. We've got to be positive for one another.
Yeah,
We've got to have
100%.
more of that pack mentality where we are advocating, protecting, and
Yes.
encouraging one another.
Yeah, I couldn't, that was perfectly said. Denise, Maha, have you got, I want to come to you with this question, if there's anything to add on your part.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think building resilience is crucial, and also building a very strong mental health, like being very strong mentally, because this is a big challenge. So personally, I was promoted twice in 3 years. So I started as a senior manager to now vice president, at the most challenging time for for the industry overall, for the generic industry, but also in the midst of a pandemic, and also at a very small women-owned company. competing with vertically integrated titans, and we had to have multiple forced tech transfers to different CMOs across 3 continents. So it was a quite challenging time from all perspectives. And also, I'm the youngest vice president at the company when I was promoted, so that was also, a lot of responsibility and challenges. But also, I think, having I grew up in the mountains. I'm a competitive skier by my family upbringing. So I personally believe that, or think that the green slopes are boring. So the real thrill comes from double diamond black runs. There it's often foggy. There are a lot of bumps and plenty of moguls, and also hidden camouflaged ice. So it's quite challenging, to be there in those conditions. But yet, there is nothing more fulfilling than overcoming all the hurdles and being able to enjoy the view from the top, especially when it gets sunny. So, yeah, always remember, be prepared mentally, emotionally, physically, because at the end, luck favors prepared minds.
Yeah, that's a lovely analogy. I love the skiing analogy. And, effectively it's the harder route up, but it's so much more rewarding, isn't it? Once you're there. Thank you for sharing that, Maha. So we've touched a little bit on the impact of individuals. I think that probably let's move into the addressing and mitigating maybe some of the glass cliffs. So one of the questions that came up in my mind was what role does mentorship and sponsorship play in helping leaders navigate? I might just come to you, Erin, with this question from a executive talent scouting perspective. And you also are kind of an active coach, I think, as well at the moment, aren't you, within Novartis?
I am. Yes, thank you. I think this mentorship and sponsorship are absolutely instrumental in your entire career journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand the difference. So in my perspective, mentorship is you're looking for somebody to help, who maybe has some experience, who can help guide you with some conversations, and just maybe give you some direction. Sponsorship, those are the people that are talking about you behind closed doors. And so you really need to build sponsorship. And not only do you want to look at sponsorship from a leadership level, you want this to come from your peers. You want this to come from your teams. You want this to come from your network, because this is your reputation. This is how people see you. And I think it's really, really important that you're creating sponsorship in a really authentic way. Because you never know what people could be saying. There's an opportunity at X company, and I think, she would be great for that. So think of sponsorship, really nurture this in a different way. It's not the same as mentorship. But these are 2 different ways that you can help navigate, because you can seek some guidance from your mentor, and then you have some advocacy coming from your sponsor. So this is something that I think that you could really leverage for, a successful situation.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you for that, Erin. I think it also rolls in quite nicely to what Denise was saying around network and networks your net worth, and effectively that sponsorship advocacy element kind of comes from growing your network, doesn't it? Is there anything to add to that, Denise, on your side?
Yes. One unique point perhaps we haven't mentioned in the discussion. My greatest sponsors have been my customers. So delivering to your customers with passion and finding that win-win for them. My biggest sponsors have been my customers who loved the business and services or products that I was able to partner with them on, and getting them to be strong references. Honestly, that's how I ended up in the role I am today. It was one of my customers that spoke so highly of my work in the past. And that has happened quite often to get the attention of companies that then in turn recruited me, because these customers were talking about the work I had done for them.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I went to a presentation around 4 or 5 months ago now for a company that manage a global CRM, and they collated some data as to what was the kind of what did clients kind of most value and want to see when partnering. Was it how long had your business been established for? Had it been previous case studies? Had it been how big's your, talent network, whatever it is? But the top one out of about seven was referrals recommendations.
Mhm.
That was the highest amount, because referees recommendations, and that's all part of that, exactly, your customer network, your sponsorship, people being advocates. Yeah, so as much as you can kind of authentically grow that, then I think you're absolutely right. I'm very conscious of time because we seem to be ticking through. One of the ones was here was, what are the long-term implications for gender and diversity equality in leadership if the glass cliff phenomenon persists? Maha, I can come to you with this one first. What are your thoughts with this?
Um, I'm thinking basically uh, we lead by example. So it's crucial for us, and to work really hard. To Erin's point, I think Erin mentioned reputation. I think my dad used to say you can buy anything by your but your reputation. So it's critical that you work hard and use your actions rather than your words to establish trust. And once you build confidence, leverage your network and work fiercely on achieving your goals. So it's crucial that you work really hard to succeed without being distracted by all the noise around you. So it's a collective work. So at the end, I think also Denise mentioned this point. So at the end, the cliff is the top of a mountain. For you to be there, it's basically that the fact that someone saw your potential. So be confident, believe in yourself, and work really hard, stay focused, don't be distracted by the noise, and always remember the best view comes after the hardest climb. So build a strong circle of mentors around you, and we lead by example. If we want this cliff to change from a cliff to a summit with a nice view,
Yeah.
it's on us to work to change that.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And I love the action above words. I think that's really important. And Erin, what are your thoughts with this question?
I think some of the long-term implications, especially when it comes to gender and diversity equality, is how that feels to the ecosystem that's surrounding, how that looks to early in career individuals or women that are looking to grow their career portfolio. It could be daunting. It can actually be fearful if they're seeing their women that they're looking up to not succeeding and not having the proper support. So this has a ripple effect, if you will, if you're seeing people that you admire not be successful or not achieve what they were aiming for. So this is where you have an opportunity, I think, as an organization to ensure that there is success, to ensure that your employees are reaching the summit like Maha described, so that there is that feeling that you will also be supported in your journey.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, thank you. And Denise, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is time for another podcast. This is a big topic,
We did
but
when
let
we
me just say it's
were
very,
going
very important. In my new role here, I've been stopped in the hallway, pulled aside several times, and said, "It's so inspiring. Thank you for representing our community." It's the first, not the very first, but it's one of the few they've seen. So representation is absolutely critical. The long-term effects of not having that reminds me of my earlier days, having grown up in an environment and in corporations that were not supportive, did not have that DEI structure. What it led to is a lot of destruction, both in professional side, trying to conform, not being able to be yourself. If you are not fully being your authentic self, then you are not achieving and flourishing at your highest talent capability. Okay. And so the implications of that would create that type of environment again, as opposed to like the environment at Thermo Fisher Scientific most recently was absolutely amazing because I knew I could be myself, fully authentic, represent my community, be out and transparent. And I just flourished as a person. As you can see, I just beamed in my personal life, in my professional life. You know, really, anytime you put handcuffs, let's say, an analogy on someone of any kind, it really hinders their progress. And you have no idea the impact that has on people personally as well as professionally. So if we want to be successful in all of these big businesses and ventures, we need people to be fully be able to be themselves.
Be themselves. Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that as well, Denise. I mean, ultimately, the goal with all of this is to work towards, you know, creating more equitable and sustainable leadership environments, isn't it? And there are so many multifaceted ways of looking at the glass cliff, which we've obviously done today. Just touching upon this sort of tokenism that has come up quite a lot with the kind of gender balance. And actually, I think there was a question in here from the audience from Andrew. How would you reverse interview a board member during the hiring process to analyse whether it's a glass cliff scenario? So this is not the one that was in my mind, but this is still a very good question. How would you say, Erin, I might come to you first with being within you know, talent scout and executive search hiring. What's your thoughts to this question?
Yeah, reverse interview, I think just means, you know, just understand more of the person's experience, if that's correct, Andrew. So that's, I think, what you should do is just, you know, understand like where were there opportunities to maybe not have somebody feel like they're on a cliff, but climbing a mountain or breaking through ceilings, if you will. So I think that it's more just gathering data, looking at the insights, and then looking at where, as an organization, you can create very fair opportunities for people across the board.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty confident that's exactly what he was coming at. But thank you so much, Andrew, for that question. We've got another one here from Sabrina. So true, Denise. I've had the same outcome. My customers, clients, clinicians have always been my biggest sponsors, advocates, and cheerleaders in general. We've got another one here from a security settings are obviously on, so apologies there, but circle of mentors is truly critical for growth. I guess, sorry, the question that I had in my mind, which I think I'd seen earlier on in the comments, was just, you know, for those that sometimes feel that they're taking a senior leadership position potentially through tokenism, what would your advice be to people that feel like that? You know, would it be speak to somebody internally, or would it be no, not necessarily? You know, at Maha, something you said earlier, it's kind of like somebody would have seen those values in you as an individual for you to be put up there. Now go and lean into the opportunity. You know, what's your general thoughts with that one, perhaps, Denise?
I say take it and run with it.
It's
The
the question
door
that's so
open.
commonly, it's in the thoughts of a lot of people. I've heard people say it a lot.
It doesn't matter who opened the door. You got through it.
You can
And
walk through it.
I would say, you know, do everything necessary to be absolutely successful. Find people like us. I'm available. Ping me on LinkedIn. I'm passionate about it. You know, find women and others who are going to support you, build that network, all the things we've talked about. But, you know, I think what's most important that I haven't said, and I'll say this, is I've always worked in an area where I have passion and I feel I have purpose and I can add value. And I don't care if I'm set up on a glass cliff, as long as I'm doing that, because it drives me from the inside, I'm going to find a way to be successful. And again, it's not an individual job. all of these roles are a team job.
Collective. Yeah.
So I love that part. I've always been an athlete, love team sports. So the team, the passion, the purpose, and you can find that if you're an entrepreneurial and want to work as an individual as well with your customers. But I say if you stick to that, the door is open, you can succeed. Anything you put your mind to.
Absolutely. Passion, purpose. And anything to add to that, Erin, Maha? That was pretty much
just say know what you want.
Yeah.
Know what you want to do. I mean, sometimes it's an opportunity that you're not, I think you make a good point, Denise. Maybe it's not something you're going to really lean into, but if you know what you want and this is it, then you have to take risks to continue to grow.
Yeah.
Stay true with yourself. I would add stay true to yourself and to your values and work ethics.
It probably leads on quite nicely to this last question that we always throw out there for our key speakers. So what one bit of advice would you give your younger self? What are your thoughts with this one, Denise?
You know, like like the book, I think it's Strengths Finder. I focused too much in my early life and adulthood about trying to fix my weaknesses and small things and nitpicking myself and thinking, did I say that right? Did I look right? You know, everything. I see everybody nodding, right?
Yeah.
So my biggest piece of advice to my younger self, and I'm still working on it today, is look at where you win and do more of that. And stop beating yourself up about this other stuff, because in the end, now I'm 54 looking back, none of that other stuff mattered. Okay, so we are all on this call, most likely because we're the type of people that are going to push ourselves. Just pay attention to where you win, where your strengths are. Put your energy behind those.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Thank you. Erin?
I would say, oh, sorry, did you say Erin?
No, yes, Erin, I did. I was getting a little bit of feedback there, so I don't know whether that was me or whether that was you. Go.
I would say you have time. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. You know, don't let age and gender be your own personal glass ceiling. And I say this because a lot of times now my boss is younger than me, and who cares? You know, I still have time. I get to create the length of my career and how I will continue to grow.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Erin. And Maha?
I would say be kinder to yourself. Even the strongest storm runs out of rain. I think Maya Angelou said that.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's so true. Thank you so much. And I can't believe we're over the 45 minutes, but this has been an amazing topic. I feel like we've covered an awful lot and some really inspiring stories as well. So thank you for sharing them personally. Obviously, for those of you that have not perhaps signed up to our community page, you will find this recording for you to distribute to colleagues, friends, associates. This is all about, spreading the word to help inspire, connect and champion, other women, everybody really within the life sciences space that we're in. This has a huge impact, no matter what gender, what age, whether you're in academia or in industry. So hopefully this will inspire many. So please feel free to share the link. And as always, thank you so much to the audience that's dialed in today. We've had some, great comments come through here. Well said, Erin. Brilliant advice. Make sure you get connected as well with those that are within the comments group. It's a nice way to network. And obviously a huge thank you to Erin, Denise, and Maha for joining us today. Really inspiring backgrounds, great advice given as well. And it's been a pleasure to do this live broadcast with you. So for now, thank you to all and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.